Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over OBS settings using NDI plugin for streaming and recording. So what is NDI and why would you want to use it? Well, NDI is a plugin that allows you to capture the display of one computer using an entirely separate computer without needing to use an external or USB capture card. And while I do recommend that if you have the budget for a capture card to go that route, this might provide an alternative solution for those who can't either afford one at the moment or who wants to leverage extra hardware that they have laying around. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to open up our browser and we're going to search for the NDI plugin. So I already had this opened up, and all you really want to do in whatever browser that you're using is just search OBS NDI up in the search field. Once you search for it, you should see this first page here. And this is a forum where this plugin is being updated. So you're going to go ahead and click on this first link. And in this link, just go ahead and accept that really quick. In this link, you'll have a bunch of information about NDI and kind of like the forum and people talking about it and kind of going over software iteration updates. So if you want to kind of stay up to date with the NDI development, you can come out and check out this forum on the OBS forum page here. So to get the plugin, all we're going to do is we're going to go to our right hand corner here and we're going to go to download. And what this is going to do is it's going to open up a GitHub page. And down in the GitHub page, don't click on this first link here because this is for Linux. It's an Ubuntu package. What you're going to want to do is you want to scroll down, and for whatever operating system that you're on, you're going to want to find the download link for your respected operating system. So we're using Windows, so we can either decide to just download the installer, which is probably the easiest, but as you can see, it is a little bit more, not that much more though, so it's really not that big of a deal. Or you can download the zip file, and when you download the zip file, you just extract that file to wherever you want, and you will install it from there. Since I already have it installed, I will not be downloading this, but as you can see, I'll just go ahead and download the zip file. The zip file will download, and then you'll just open the file. Have it on a separate screen here. Pull that over for you to see. It'll open like that, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to extract it, whatever method you use for extracting. I have 7-zip. I think you can just use the window extractor, and you just extract here. It'll download the files for you, OBS plugin. Pick whichever respected bit that your operating system is. I'm using a 64-bit Windows version, so then I'll do that. I think this is for adding it into your file, so we'll just go ahead and download the installer. That might work a little better. Right. Yep. So we'll open up the installer, and then we're just going to want to launch the installer. But like I said, I already have this downloaded, so no need for me to redo that. Once you download and you're going to go through the process of just installing the software, it's going to prompt you to restart your computer, and once you restart your computer, we'll pick back up. So I'll give you a second for that, and then once you have that done, we'll come back to this video. Okay, so now that our computer has been reset, we're going to go ahead and reopen OBS. We're going to set up our recording environment. So what I have here is OBS opened up, and what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set it up as you would normally set up OBS. In your scenes, you're going to want to make whatever scene that you have, and in that scene, you're going to add whatever displays that you want to add, whether it just be your desktop monitor, or you can go and add like a direct game capture, a media source, whatever the case may be. Just go ahead and set up your scene as you would normally set it up. And this is, obviously I'm recording on the screen, so it's just going to be a mirror of whatever that I'm recording here, so that's why it kind of looks a little funky like that. So this would be I'm going to disable the preview so it's not doing that mirror effect. So this would be my setup for OBS if I'm just typically streaming from one computer. I have another monitor that I would put off on the side for OBS, and then it would capture this display here that you see in the background. And usually that would be either, if I'm doing like a demonstration like I am now, it would be whatever software that I'm displaying, or if it's a game, it would be capturing specifically that game. So once we have that set up, what we're gonna do, and I'm not gonna go over like OBS settings, that's for another video. This is specifically for NDI, and when you're using NDI, you don't necessarily have to worry about the settings on your gaming side of your PC. Just make sure, I'd say the biggest thing is, oops, and let me relaunch OBS. It's gonna prompt me that I have another one open. That's fine. The biggest thing is you're gonna wanna make sure that your output, this is probably the only thing that you're gonna have to worry about using the NDI, is just make sure that your output for your resolution of your monitor is set correctly, and whatever frame rate you're going to want to capture it in is set correctly. That's the biggest thing. You don't have to worry about the streaming. None of this stuff here matters. Where this is going to matter is going to be on the secondary computer. So once we get to that portion of the tutorial, I will go over that. So now that we have our environment set up the way that we like, we're going to go up to our toolbar here at the top, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to click on Tools. The tool drop down menu will see a new setting, and it's going to say NDI Output Settings. You'll have two check boxes here, and you're going to want to checkbox Main Display, and you can rename this to whatever you want. I just leave it as NDI Main. You could say like Gaming Main, so you know on your secondary computer that this is the gaming display that it's going to be displaying over to your secondary computer. And then you're going to want to hit OK. Now you'll notice that after you hit OK on the NDI output settings, if you look into your settings on your OBS on your main computer, you'll notice that you can't change any of your video settings after that, because it's essentially what's going on here is you're streaming already. You're streaming this display to your secondary computer with OBS open and with NDI. And how this works is you're streaming your display to your secondary computer, and then from your secondary computer, you're just going to be recording or broadcasting that streamed display to your specific platform. So either that's going to be on YouTube or Twitch or whatever, Facebook Live, whatever the case may be. So from here, we're all done setting up OBS settings for NDI on the main computer, and where I pick back up is when we're on the secondary computer, typically called the streaming computer. Okay, so here I am on the secondary computer that I have, that I'm going to be doing all of the recording on, or the streaming on. So as you can see, what you're seeing on the display right now is the gaming computer. So if I were to say launch a game, that'd be whatever game, or if I'm broadcasting something, whatever the case may be, that's happening on that computer, it's being mirrored on this specific OBS. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go ahead and on the secondary computer follow all of the first steps that we took on the gaming computer or the broadcasting computer, whatever you want to call it, and download the NDI plugin, restart the computer, and then relaunch OBS. And what you'll do once you do that is you'll set up a scene. So set up your main scene, and you'll notice that once you have the NDI plugin, also you'll see that you'll have a new source. So what I'll do here is I'll go ahead and remove this source so you can kind of see it step by step. So we set up our scene, just a main scene, whatever the case may be. And in that scene, we're going to add a NDI source. NDI source, name it whatever you want. I'll just keep it NDI, and a box will open up, and on the network, by the way, these have to both be on the same network, which I would assume that they already are. You'll notice whatever computer that you have the NDI main broadcasting on, you see the name here. So I have a root user, which is my gaming main. That's what I named it on the other computer. I'll click on that. What I want to do for the bandwidth is I want to do the highest bandwidth. This is using your local network, so this does take a bit of networking. Not networking in a sense that you have to be setting up like an intricate complex system, but it is streaming over your network, so it does take a bit of bandwidth. So you're going to want to have decent internet speed for this to work without any issues when you're broadcasting, say, to Twitch or to YouTube Live. And for the sync, we're going to use network. It's up to you if you want to allow hardware acceleration. If you have a decent graphics card, a decent CPU, then you can allow hardware acceleration. Whichever color scheme you want to go with, full 709 or 601. Since I'm streaming in full 709 on the other computer, I'll just mirror those settings. Latency, as you can see, you can pick between normal and experimental. We'll leave it on normal, and then we'll just click OK. And there you go. So here's our main computer, our gaming computer's desktop environment, and what I can demonstrate here is, say if I go over to the main gaming computer, I can open up a game and you'll see that it's mirroring onto this OBS. Okay, so here we are. You can see that the game is mirroring what I have on my, or this OBS is mirroring what I have on the gaming setup, with little to no latency that I can perceive, and that's something that you're going to want to keep in mind. This is all going to be going over your network, so if you are going to use this method, it's best that you use it with a pretty strong internet service provider. Luckily, where I live, we have a Google Fiber, so I have pretty decent internet for this to work with little to no latency. So I do recommend that if you're going to go this route, if you're not going to do the capture card route, keep in mind that this is kind of a network, streaming over a network, and then if you're going to be streaming it to, say, Twitch or YouTube Live, you're going to be adding another load on top of your streaming already. So just keep that in mind. And just to kind of give you an idea, what I'll do is I'll give you, as you can see, you go to performance here. For looking at my Ethernet, my network, you can see that it does use quite a bit of bandwidth. So, and I'm not even streaming to YouTube yet. So it's using a considerable amount of bandwidth. So just keep that in mind. And as you can see, I do recommend having a pretty decent CPU as well in the streaming or broadcasting PC. As you can see, I have a 8-core 16-thread AMD Ryzen 7 in this computer, and as you can see, it's utilizing all those cores in the computer for this to work pretty seamlessly. But I'll leave that to your discretion on what you want to set your computer to be, how you build your computer. So this is kind of just if you want to leverage, let's say, a secondary computer, if you have a laptop or whatever the case may be laying around, you want to do a little bit of streaming, but you don't have a capture card, you kind of want to offload some of that processing and encoding off of your gaming computer using a secondary computer. This is the way you can do it. So briefly before we close out, what I want to go over is on the streaming side of on the streaming PC, what you're going to want to do after you have your scene set up for your NDI source you're just going to want to go in and make sure that you have all your output settings set to the way that you like. If you're doing streaming, I'm not going to go over any of these settings. I'm pretty sure there's tons of videos out there for you to kind of get an idea of what to set these to. Just make sure that if you're going to rescale, if you're rescaling it, just make sure you're rescaling it to the resolution that you want. For streaming, just set it to the bit rate that you want. If you want to use constant bit rate or variable bit rate, whatever you want to do. Keyframes, I think you have to set those to 2 for Twitch. I'm not sure about YouTube. The CPU preset depends on what CPU you have. Faster CPUs with more cores can use a slower preset. But again, you just want to mess around with those settings and figure out what's right for your system. Also for the recording, if you're doing recording, the settings are a little bit different than the streaming. For the encoder, this is to your discretion, whatever you want to use for the encoder. I think X264 is a bit higher quality. Definitely recommend using that. And then for your bit rate for recording, you can use a bit higher. You can use a higher bit rate for this one, so you're not limited. I think on Twitch you're limited without the partnership. You're limited to about, I'm gonna say 6,000 or somewhere along that line for your bit rate. But when you're recording, you can set the bit rate higher. This does put a little bit more load on your CPU, so just keep that in mind. Same for the keyframes. You just keep the keyframes the same, and then whatever CPU usage preset that you want to keep. And that's it for NDI using OBS. If you have any questions, please leave the comments down below. I'll try to answer any questions and help you out along the way if you run into any trouble. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.